My name is Evelyn Mae Carver. I am 83 years old, and my hands still tremble when I open this book. It's a plain brown diary, the kind you might find in a dime store in 1952. The edges are frayed, the lock's been broken for decades, and the paper smells faintly of cedar from years tucked away in the top drawer of my old dresser. But for all its plainness, it is the most dangerous thing I own. I never meant for it to see the light of day again. For 70 years it was my silent witness, the only proof I had when nobody believed me, the only thing that remembered the truth when the people I loved the most told me to forget it. This morning I set it on the coffee table in my living room. The whole family is here. My children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. And the ghosts of people who aren't in the room, but whose shadows still stretch over it. My brother's children and grandchildren are here too, sitting on the opposite couch, their expressions polite but wary. They think I've gathered them for some sentimental story before my time runs out. They don't know I've been waiting for this moment for most of my life. I can hear the old mantel clock ticking behind me. Every sound in this room feels too loud. The rustle of someone shifting on the couch, the clink of my spoon against my teacup. I run my fingers over the diary's cover one more time before I look up. I've asked you all here, I begin, because there's a part of my life none of you know. A part that's been twisted into a lie for 70 years. A murmur ripples through the room. My grandson Samuel leans forward, brow furrowed. Grandma, what's this about? It's about your uncle, I say. My voice doesn't waver. My brother, Henry. The air goes still. I can feel their eyes on me, some confused, some uncomfortable. They all know Henry as the charming, God-fearing man who died a respected member of this community. They've heard the glowing stories, the ones that painted me as the quiet sister who faded into the background. What they don't know is that when I was 13 years old, I tried to tell the truth about him, and they called me a liar. Everything I'm about to say is in here, I tell them, resting my palm on the diary. Every date, every word, every time I cried myself to sleep. I wrote it all down because I knew someday this day would come. From the far side of the room, Henry's eldest granddaughter, Rachel, speaks up. Her voice is sharp. This isn't fair. Grandpa's not here to defend himself. I meet her gaze. Neither was I, Rachel. Not then. Not when I needed someone to defend me. The silence that follows is heavy. I feel the weight of decades pressing in, but I don't flinch. My fingers curl around the first page, the paper thin and delicate, but still strong enough to hold what's inside. And then I say the words I've been rehearsing for months. I'm going to read you what I wrote the night it happened. The room draws in a collective breath. The air feels charged like before a summer storm. My heart is steady now, my voice anchored. Because this is no longer a secret. This is my story. And it begins here. If this has you gripped, make sure you're here for the next chapter, where Evelyn turns the clock back to the summer of 1953 and tells us what really happened behind the closed doors of the Carver house. Like, comment, and subscribe if you believe some truths should never stay buried. The summer of 1953 in Marigold County was hot enough to curl the paint on the porch rails and make the cicadas scream all day. I was 13, lanky, with elbows too sharp for my own good and hair that never wanted to stay in its braid. Mama said I was too much in my own head, but the truth was our house didn't leave much room for dreaming. Back then, the Carver house looked like something out of a postcard. White clapboard siding, green shutters, a front porch swing that creaked in the wind. Folks driving by probably thought we were the picture of a good, God-fearing family. They didn't see how the air inside felt thick with unspoken rules. They didn't hear the way the floorboards groaned at night when Henry came home late, or how Mama's voice went sharp when she told me to mind my place. Henry was 18 then, my only sibling. He was handsome. Every girl at Marigold High said so. Blonde hair that caught the sun, easy smile, strong from helping Daddy in the fields. He had a way of looking at people like he'd already decided what you were worth before you even spoke. People said he was bound for something bigger than our little town. Mama adored him. Daddy was proud of him. And me. I used to. Before I learned what his smiles could hide. It started small. Things that didn't make sense but were easy to ignore. My comb missing from the dresser. My journal in a slightly different position than I'd left it. The way Henry would stand too close in the kitchen when Mama was hanging laundry out back. One night in late June, Mama was visiting Aunt Ruth in the next county. Daddy had gone to play cards with the men at the feed store. It was just me and Henry. I was sitting cross-legged on the living room rug, reading Little Women for the third time. "You read too much," he said from the doorway. "Makes you think you're smarter than you are." I didn't answer. That was the safest thing to do, silence. He stepped closer, his boots thudding against the worn floorboards. "You think you're better than me, don't you?" I looked up, startled. His tone was low, but there was something in his eyes that made my stomach knot. "No," I said quickly. "I don't." But he kept walking toward me. That night changed everything. And I wrote it all down. Every word. Every feeling. Every detail I couldn't say out loud. My diary became the only place where my voice was safe. When Mama came home the next day, I tried. God help me, I tried. I told her something had happened. I told her I didn't feel safe. Her face went still, like I'd just spoken blasphemy. "Evelyn Mae," she said in a voice that could cut glass, "don't you dare say such things about your brother. You'll ruin his life." Tears burned my eyes. "But Mama." She slapped the counter so hard the coffee cups rattled. "Enough. Not another word. Do you understand me?" Understood. I understood that my pain was less important than Henry's reputation. That my word meant nothing against his smile. Over the next weeks, I tried to live like nothing had happened. I ate my breakfast, did my chores, went to Sunday school. But Henry knew. He knew I wouldn't be believed. And that gave him power. In July, I told the truth to someone else. Miss Carter, my Sunday school teacher. She was kind, soft-spoken, and I thought maybe she'd listen. She did listen. She even put her hand on mine and said she'd speak to my parents. 2 days later, Mama came into my room and shut the door. "You will not repeat those lies to anyone ever again," she hissed. "Henry is a good man. And you will not ruin this family." By the end of the week, the whispers started. Not about Henry, about me. That I was a troublemaker. That I had a wild imagination. That I'd gotten ideas from books I shouldn't have been reading. Henry walked free. Free to laugh with his friends. Free to take girls to the drive-in. Free to stand in church with his Bible open and his voice clear. And I learned to keep my head down, my diary hidden, and my mouth shut. But every night when the house was quiet, I wrote. I wrote because I knew. Someday someone would have to hear me. And now, 70 years later, that day has come. Because in the very room where they called me a liar, I am about to read my diary out loud. The room is so quiet I can hear the faint ticking of the mantel clock behind me. All those years I thought my voice would shake when this day came, but it doesn't. My hands tremble a little as I open the diary, but my voice is steady. I clear my throat and look down at the first entry I ever wrote about Henry. July 2nd, 1953, I read aloud. "Mama is gone to Aunt Ruth's. Daddy is playing cards. Henry says I read too much." He stood in the doorway and looked at me like I was something small. I wanted to hide in my book, but he kept stepping closer. I glance up. Some faces are puzzled, others guarded. Henry's son, Paul, shifts in his seat like he wants to interrupt, But I keep reading. I wrote down everything that happened because I knew no one would believe me. Henry told me I was his problem to deal with now that Mama was out. He said I should be grateful someone cares enough to keep me in line. I didn't know what he meant until he grabbed my wrist. I pause and turn the book so they can see the faded graphite, the indentation of words pressed so hard they left grooves in the paper. That's my handwriting from when I was 13. You can see how the pencil dug into the page. I was shaking when I wrote it. From the far end of the couch, Rachel, his granddaughter, crosses her arms. You can't expect us to take that as proof. Anyone could write anything. I nod slowly. You're right. Words can be lies. Which is why I wrote down every detail. The time, the place, what he said, what I was wearing, what the air smelled like, how the light fell through the curtains. Not just once. Every time. And some of those things only someone who was there could know. I flipped to another page, dated 3 weeks later. My own cramped, teenage script stares back at me. July 25, 1953. Miss Carter asked me why I looked sad in Sunday school. I told her about Henry. Thought she might help. She promised to speak to Mama. That night, Mama came into my room. She said I was lying. She said I would ruin Henry's life. She said a good man's reputation is worth more than a silly girl's tears. She told me to stop. And I told myself I would. But I can't stop writing. The pages are the only ones who listen. I can feel the shift in the room. A few of my own grandchildren look down at their laps. My daughter, Miriam, bites her lip. They've never seen me like this. Never heard me speak about anything so raw. I close the diary for a moment and rest my hand on the cover. Do you know what it's like to carry something for 70 years and be told it never happened? To see your brother praised from the pulpit while you sit in the back, swallowing the truth like poison. No one answers. That's why I kept this, I say, patting the diary. Because I knew the day would come when silence would cost me more than speaking. I open it again, flipping to a later page. August 14, 1953. Henry told me if I ever said anything again, he'd make sure everyone thought I was crazy. He said Mama already believed it. He laughed when he said it like it was a joke we were both in on. But it wasn't a joke. I was 13. I started thinking maybe I was crazy. When I stop, the room feels heavy. No one moves. I have 70 years worth of entries, I say quietly. Every one of them is a truth that was buried so Henry could walk free. I close the book again and lean back. And I'm not even at the worst part yet. A ripple goes through the room, some leaning forward, others stiffening. I can see questions in their eyes, but I'm not answering yet. Next page, I say. And you'll understand why the truth was so dangerous for him. The clock ticks on. No one breathes too loud. Because they all know we are past the point of no return. I rest my hand on the worn leather cover for a long moment, staring down at the diary that has lived longer than most people I know. My fingers trace the edge where the stitching is frayed. This page, I say softly, is the one I never thought I'd read out loud. Not to anyone. Not even to myself after I wrote it. But it's the reason I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I flip to the middle, to a page with a smudge of dried tears at the bottom corner. The handwriting is jagged here, rushed, almost frantic. I remember the night I wrote it, the way my heart pounded so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. September 5, 1953. I begin, my voice steady but low. Daddy had gone into town. Mama was out in the garden, talking with Mrs. Green over the fence. I was in my room trying to finish my homework before supper. Henry came in without knocking. He leaned against the doorframe like he owned the place. He said Mama was proud of him for keeping me in line. I told him to get out. I take a breath, my eyes scanning the words I scratched out 70 years ago. He didn't. He closed the door. Locked it. He said if I didn't listen to him, he'd make sure Mama sent me away to live with strangers. He said no one would believe a girl like me over her golden boy. The room shifts. I can feel the discomfort ripple through them. Chairs creaking, hands folding tighter. But I'm not stopping now. September 6, 1953. I continue. Mama asked why my blouse was torn. I told her the truth. She told me not to repeat it. Said I was being dramatic. Said I was looking for attention. She said if I ever spoke of it again, I'd be sent away and I'd never see my family again. I went to my room and cried until I couldn't breathe. Then I wrote it down. Because the paper doesn't talk back. The paper doesn't call you a liar. I closed the diary for a moment and looked straight at the faces around me. Some are pale, some are blinking hard, some are avoiding my gaze entirely. You want to know why I stayed silent? Ask quietly. Because the moment I opened my mouth, my own mother told me I was the problem. Because in this family, reputation was more important than truth. I opened the diary again, flipping to the final entry I plan to read tonight. October 20th, 1953, I say. Henry came home drunk. Mama told me to take him to his room before the neighbors saw. I told her I wouldn't. She slapped me across the face. Told me I was ungrateful. Told me Henry was the only reason I'd be safe in this world. I locked my door that night. Wrote until my candle burned out. And promised myself, if I lived long enough to see the day when I could tell my truth without being thrown out, I would. I snapped the diary shut. The sound is sharp in the stillness. For a moment no one speaks. Then Rachel, his granddaughter, says quietly, I didn't know. You weren't supposed to know, I say, my voice calm. That's the way it works. You build the perfect picture on the outside, while the inside rots. I set the diary on the table between us. You can read every page if you like. I'm not hiding it anymore. Henry's son, Paul, swallows hard. His voice is rough when he says, You're ruining his memory. I meet his eyes. No, Paul. I'm setting mine free. And I can see it, the cracks forming. The certainty slipping from their faces. Because deep down they know this isn't just a story. It's the truth they've been breathing in for years without realizing it. And now that it's out in the open, they can't put it back. The diary sits on the coffee table between us like a loaded gun. No one wants to touch it, but no one can look away. I lean back in my chair, my hands folded in my lap. You've heard enough tonight to understand why I stayed silent for so long, I say, my voice low but firm. But what you don't understand yet is why I chose to speak now. Pause, letting the quiet settle. I can feel my heartbeat steady as a drum. I'm 83 years old, I continue. I have more years behind me than ahead. And I will not leave this earth carrying his sins on my back. I will not go to my grave letting him be remembered as something he wasn't. I look around the room. My children, my grandchildren, nieces, nephews, faces I've watched grow from chubby cheeks to lined brows. Some of them are crying. Others look like they're still trying to process. For 70 years, I say, I was told my voice didn't matter. That my pain didn't matter. That keeping the peace was more important than telling the truth. Well, peace built on a lie is just a cage with prettier bars. I reach down, pick up the diary, and hold it against my chest. I didn't read these pages tonight to ruin a man's name. I read them to take back mine. I set the diary back down and slide it toward the center of the table. You can keep it. All of you. Read every word if you want to. Burn it if you can't handle it. Either way, I won't carry it anymore. I am done. Rachel, the one who crossed her arms at me earlier, reaches out first. Her hand hovers over the leather cover before she finally rests her fingers on it. She doesn't look at me, but I see the way her jaw tightens. I know she's already turning those words over in her head. Paul Henry's son is the last to move. He stands slowly, his face pale, his mouth opening like he wants to say something, but nothing comes. He turns and walks out without a word. I watch him go, feeling a strange mix of grief and relief. When the door closes, I exhale. My shoulders feel lighter. The air feels cleaner. I turn to the rest of them and smile. Not the brittle, polite smile I've worn for decades, but something real. I'm not asking for your pity, I tell them. I'm asking for your truth. Whatever it is, whatever you've been holding in, don't take it with you. Speak it before it rots you from the inside out. Outside, the sun is setting, painting the windows in shades of gold. I stand, my knees stiff but strong, and walk toward the porch. For the first time in 70 years I feel free. Not because they all believed me. Not because justice was served in the way the world defines it. But because I finally stopped protecting the person who hurt me, and started protecting the girl I used to be. I step outside, breathing in the cool evening air. Behind me, the murmur of voices rises. They're talking now. They'll keep talking. And maybe, just maybe, the next time someone in this family cries out, they'll be heard. I close my eyes, let the air fill my lungs, and smile to myself. Because tonight, the silence finally broke.